I'm Ariel Azor, host of Right This Way, and today we're going to talk about the mainstream media. If you watch the news or pull up an article on your phone or pretty much anything, probably the first thing you'll see come up is coronavirus. They're using words like global epidemic, global crisis, pandemic. They're using all of these really big, really scary words that imply we're all going to die. And that's just not true. They did this with the swine flu. I was in like third or fourth grade, and I remember I think I hand sanitized my hands 30 times a day. I think I went through a hand sanitizer, one of those little mini Bath and Body Works hand sanitizer bottles. I think I went through one a week during the swine flu. And the swine flu was somewhere in Asia. We didn't even have that here. But I was so terrified. I mean, I thought we were all dying because that's what the news made it sound like. And it was the same thing with Ebola a couple years ago. I thought we were all dying. And then everybody was fine. And I mean, I know not everybody was fine. People died from both of these viruses. It was a big deal. It still is a big deal. I think Ebola in Africa is definitely still a prominent issue there. I'm not saying it's not, but here, the news was global spread, epidemic. We are looking at a crisis. No, we're not. There was 4 cases and nobody died from it here because we had the technology and the medicine to help them, we could give them fluids and keep them alive that they don't have in these poorer countries where these diseases are starting. And it's going to be the same thing with coronavirus. It's a global epidemic here in our news because they want you to pay attention to the news. They want to post article after article that has you interested, and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I protect my family? What are the symptoms that I should be looking for? How do I know if I have coronavirus? What if my kid has it? My kid is sick. What if my kid has coronavirus? It's this thing that they do, and they want that from you. It is exactly the reaction they want. Because if they posted a story that said coronavirus isn't actually going to spread through the whole world, it's not going to kill off half the population, you're going to be fine. If you live here in America, where these news stories are being printed, you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. If they printed that, every single time somebody did write another article about coronavirus, they would just be like, whatever, we're fine. We're going to be fine. I don't need to read any more about coronavirus because it's not here. And they don't want that. They're the news. It is their job to write articles, to get you to watch them, to listen to them, get views. That's their job. That is their whole goal. But the media recently has started to embellish stories so much to the point of dishonesty. I mean, I think misleading people about the reality of a disease using words that are just embellishment, that are, making it seem so much worse than it is, that are exaggeration, gross exaggeration, I would say. I think that's dishonest. And we should be concerned about dishonesty because this isn't the only place we see it. This is proof right here. If you say, don't talk about this from a political standpoint at all, that's that right there. That's not like me saying CNN is fake news and some, AOC saying that Fox is biased against her. It's not the same thing as that. This has nothing to do with politics. This is just proof. Good, unbiased, non-political proof that the media doesn't actually care about the people it reports to. If there's no integrity for journalists and nobody to hold these mainstream media networks accountable, where does it end? It doesn't. Eventually it's just, they're smart enough to do this little by little by little. We should start switching to different news networks, different sources of media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, social media, I think has such good news because it's just little people. It's not a big company, corporation. It's just a couple people, a group of people, or just one person who runs an account, an Instagram account or something like that, and just genuinely wants to provide people with good, true, honest news. And I think there's a lot of people that don't like the news, but it's really important to be informed about what's going on. You know, people say like, I don't watch it, it depresses me, but you should still have some idea of what's going on in the real world. Maybe once a week, just look at like a summary of the things that happened on Friday or Saturday or something like that. Look at a summary of the things that happened this week. You could easily find something like that. Find news stations, like go out and find different sources of news, because that's actually so interesting to see. Mainstream media, every single thing is the same. It really is. It's if CNN is talking about impeachment, Fox is also talking about impeachment. They are. They're going to talk about two completely different stories, but I don't want to hear the Democratic version of impeachment, and I don't want to hear the Republican version of impeachment. I want to form my opinion for myself, because the Democrats are saying he's getting removed from office for sure. They're going to get enough Republicans to turn against him. The Republicans are saying it's not really going to happen. Not enough Republicans will turn. Even though these ones are weak Republicans, it won't happen. I want to decide if I think that's going to happen for myself, because one is saying it is and one is saying it isn't, and I don't know what to believe. So I'm going to form my own opinion, because that's the way to do it. But I can't find any news. I can't find an article about impeachment that isn't biased. And that's the problem, is that I don't want the biased news. Even if it's biased to what I agree with, I don't want biased. I don't want to just agree with everything. So for people who just don't like watching the news, I think that's a lot of people. Go find good news. Like Instagram, I think it's like Be Inspired News. It's like Breitbart, but it's like only good news. And it's not really political, but like it'll be something about like a firefighter saving a kitten or something. Like it's like really, it's just like stories that make you feel good. Things like that. And then even like small Instagram accounts, like I get a newsletter. It's called Wake Up Right. They have an Instagram account. You can follow them. And then if you subscribe to their newsletter, you'll get one in your inbox like every day, almost, I think, except Sunday maybe. And it's just like one guy who like writes these articles, but he definitely spends at least an hour compiling this like relatively short article, but you can read it in like probably 10 minutes if you just read the article, but then there's like attachments like, oh, like read this article from here and things like that. And he just uses really good sources, and he just compiles like a really honest newsletter. You know, like it's so not biased. It's just the truth. And I think he's really good at deciding like what should go in there. Like, what do you need to know for the week? Like I can read this each day, each morning, and be like, yeah, this is what I needed to know for today, to go out and have a conversation with anybody who wants to talk to me about anything political going on in the news or anything like that. This is what I needed to know for the day, to be informed on, to be able to talk to them and have an opinion on it. But that's the thing, is like this article, I love it. This newsletter is that you can form your own opinion about the things. It's not just this. Here's what you should think about it. It's like, it's just facts. And that's what we want. That's what we should want. I like the White House Brief with John Miller on YouTube. I think there's like an Instagram for it too. Yeah, there definitely is. I definitely follow it. But on YouTube, you can like watch the whole videos. Some of them are like 15 to like 30 minutes, I think. This is the thing with the mainstream media, is you watch an hour of the nightly news, and then the second hour comes on and it's the exact same thing. And the first hour that you've watched is 8 commercial breaks, and they keep telling you, you know, this is on next. And it's the same story that's on next, but they wait for the end because it's the best story they have, supposedly. And then you waited for the end and you're super disappointed, because although it is the best story, it's still super, super boring. Or you still heard it 4 other times when you had the news on, you know, this morning. And that's the thing, is I think people are actually getting really tired of it. And I think that's why we're seeing such an emergence of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just social media in general, news outlets, is because it's just one person or 2 people that can be held accountable when they put out something that isn't true. And when you do that, your credibility is lost, and people start unfollowing you, and people are like, no, this account's no good. And you really do lose followers, and you really do lose your credibility. Whereas the Washington Post can put out a completely fake story, and nobody has any issue with it. You know, like they'll call him out on it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that journalist was put on suspension and that article's not true. But the damage has been done. You know, it doesn't matter when they go and retract that. The damage has been done, because that super fake article, it was super fake because it was probably super interesting compared to the other things. And it was too good to be true. And that's the thing, is that it became top news So everybody saw it. And then when they go and retract it and they say, oh, that wasn't true, only half the people that saw it see that retraction. So the damage is done. People still think that's real. And then it takes a while for it to get to them. And sometimes it never gets to them that article was retracted, that's not true. It takes a long time. So I think it's just super, super important for young people, for anybody, to not let your opinions be formed by wherever it is that you get your information from. Even if that is your parents, form your own opinions. You may agree with the things they say. Nothing wrong with that. Have conversations with your parents, but maybe don't get all your information from them. Maybe don't get all your information from your teachers who are probably super leftist and liberal. Get your information from something that you choose for yourself, because you can be in control of that. And that's the thing, is nobody holds these mainstream news networks accountable. But these little ones, you are in control of that. We're not in control of how these mainstream news networks embellish their stories and, what they put out there and fact checking. We're not in control of that. But you can be in control of what news you want to follow, what news you want to hear and see for the day, for the week, the month, whatever it is, whenever you check the news. You can be in control of that. That's the beauty of social media, of our phones that we have in our hands and our pockets all day long. You control that. If you enjoyed this episode, you can give me a thumbs up on YouTube. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and you can also check out my Instagram at right.this.way.